After my wife's funeral, my son-in-law changed the locks on my own front door. I came home from the cemetery still wearing my black suit, still holding the program with my wife's face on it, and found a brand new deadbolt where my old one used to be. My key didn't work. I stood on my own porch in Nashville, Tennessee, trying to get into the house I'd lived in for 32 years, and my daughter opened the door just wide enough to look at me. "Dad," she said, "you can't stay here anymore. Derek says it's better this way. I'm grateful you're here with me right now. Before we go on, drop justice in the comments if you believe that truth always finds its way to the surface. It helps me know you're listening." Quick note: this story includes fictional elements crafted for entertainment and awareness. Any resemblance to real people or places is coincidental, but the message about elder abuse and standing up for family might hit close to home. I never imagined I'd be standing outside my own house at 63 with nowhere to go. The morning of that day started the way every morning had started since Catherine died. I reached across the bed and found her side cold. 3 weeks. 3 weeks since the stroke took her, and I still couldn't stop reaching. The doorbell didn't ring. Nobody knocked. I drove home from Green Hills Cemetery and found the lock replaced. When my daughter Rachel finally opened the door, Derek Pruitt stood behind her. My son-in-law, 44 years old, ran a chain of assisted living facilities across Middle Tennessee, smiled like a politician and shook hands like he meant it. Behind Derek stood his mother, Vivian Pruitt, a woman who wore pearls to the grocery store and looked at everyone like she was calculating their net worth. "Thomas," Derek said, stepping around Rachel, "we need to talk about the house. This is still my house." I kept my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. "Catherine and I bought this place before Rachel was born." Actually, Vivian reached into her handbag and pulled out a folded document. "Catherine left the house to Rachel. It's all here. Signed. Notarized. Legal." I took the paper. Catherine's signature at the bottom. A notary stamp from February. Legal language about sole beneficiary, transfer of property. All assets, including the residence at 1,847 Belmont Park Drive. Something was wrong. Catherine and I had talked about our wills after her diagnosis. She'd said she wanted to update things properly, together, with our lawyer present. The stroke came before we got the chance. "I need to call an attorney," I said. "Go right ahead." Derek checked his watch. "But the paperwork is airtight. We'd appreciate it if you could collect your things by tonight. We're having contractors in tomorrow." Rachel. I looked past Derek at my daughter. She stood in the hallway with her arms crossed tight against her chest, her eyes red. "Please, honey. This is your mother's house. You grew up here." "I know, Dad." Her voice cracked. "But it's mine now. Mom wanted it this way." "No, she didn't. I knew that in my bones. Catherine would never have done this without telling me." Derek put his hand on Rachel's shoulder, and whatever was left of my daughter's resolve disappeared. She stepped back. The door closed. I heard the new deadbolt slide into place. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, staring at the house. Our house. The azaleas Catherine planted along the walkway. The porch swing where we'd spent 1,000 evenings. The window of the nursery we'd painted yellow when Rachel was born, then blue when our son James came along 2 years later. My phone rang. Frank Dawson. "My neighbor since 1995. "I saw you sitting out front," Frank said. "Everything okay?" "No, Frank. Nothing is okay." Frank and his wife Louise took me in that night. Their guest room was small but clean, and it smelled like the lavender sachets Louise kept in every drawer. I sat on the bed and read the will again. The language was clear. Rachel Pruitt, née Harrison, sole beneficiary. Everything. The house, the savings, Catherine's jewelry, her car, but something nagged at me. Something about the house itself. Catherine and I bought it in 1992, right after Rachel was born. Catherine had used inheritance money from her grandmother for the down payment. She'd handled all the paperwork herself, because I was working double shifts at the post office back then. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about something Catherine had told James during his last visit home. Our son taught history at a university in Chicago. Smart kid. Quiet, like his mother. He'd flown down when Catherine first got sick and stayed 2 weeks. I called him at midnight. "Dad." James's voice was tight with worry. "Rachel just called me. She said you're not at the house. What happened?" I told him everything. The locks, the will, Derek's smugness, Vivian's paperwork, Rachel's guilt. James was quiet for a long time. Then he said something that changed everything. "Dad, do you remember Mom mentioning a safety deposit box? She told me about it last time I was home, made me promise not to tell anyone, not even you. She said if anything ever happened to her, I should make sure you got the key." My hand tightened on the phone. "What's in it?" "I don't know. But she gave me the key and said it was at First Tennessee Bank on West End. She said it would protect us. I'm flying home tomorrow, Dad." First thing, after he hung up, I sat in the dark thinking about my wife. Catherine had been a reference librarian for 30 years at the Nashville Public Library. She organized information the way other people breathed. If she'd rented a safety deposit box and hidden the key with James, there was a reason. She'd known something. She'd prepared. I looked at the will again. Catherine's signature. But was it really hers? Catherine had beautiful handwriting, careful and precise. This signature looked right. But something about the slant was off. Just slightly. The kind of thing only a husband of 34 years would notice. I couldn't prove it. Not yet. But for the first time since Rachel closed that door in my face, I felt something other than grief. I felt hope. I should have seen it coming. Catherine did. She always saw people more clearly than I ever could. When Rachel brought Derek home 7 years ago, Catherine smiled through dinner, asked polite questions, laughed at his jokes. But in the car afterward, she turned to me and said, "I don't trust him. He's successful. Rachel seems happy. She's performing." Thomas, did you notice how she looked at him before answering any question? Like she needed permission to have her own thoughts. I told her she was being overprotective. Catherine was never wrong about people. The marriage happened fast. The Pruitts paid for everything. Vivian gave a toast about how Rachel was part of their family now, how the Pruitts took care of their own. Rachel moved into a house Derek's mother owned, and slowly over the next few years, our daughter disappeared. She stopped calling. Holidays became tense. She lost weight. She wore expensive clothes that didn't look like her, and talked about investments she didn't understand. Catherine tried to reach her dozens of times, but Derek was always there, monitoring, correcting, hovering. The last time Rachel visited alone was January, 2 months before Catherine's stroke. Catherine tried one more time in the kitchen. "Honey, are you okay? You look exhausted." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. For just a second, I thought she'd break. Then her phone rang. "Derek," she answered immediately, voice bright and fake. "Hey, babe." "Yeah, almost done. 20 minutes. After Rachel left, Catherine sat at the table and cried. "We're losing her, Thomas. They're taking our daughter, and I don't know how to stop it." 6 weeks later, Catherine collapsed in the garden. James and I made it to Vanderbilt Hospital within the hour. Rachel didn't arrive until the next morning. She came alone and looked devastated. Catherine rallied that afternoon. She used her last hours of clarity to talk to James about his students, to make me promise I'd keep her garden alive. Then she asked to speak to Rachel privately. I don't know what they said. I watched through the window as Catherine held Rachel's hand and spoke urgently, intensely, for almost 30 minutes. When Rachel came out, her face was blotchy and her hands were shaking. "What did she say?" I asked. "She said she loves us. She said she loves us so much." That night, Catherine pulled me close. "Thomas," she whispered, "listen carefully. I don't have much time. Don't say that. Protect our children." Her fingers dug into my arm. "Promise me, whatever happens after I'm gone, protect James and Rachel, especially Rachel." "I will. I promise. There are things I've arranged." She coughed. "Important things. If anything happens, look for." A nurse rushed in. Catherine's monitors were screaming. They pushed me out. She died at 4:12 in the morning on March 8th. I never heard the end of that sentence. Now, sitting in Frank's guest room 3 weeks later, Those unfinished words echoed in my mind. She'd tried to tell me. She'd been trying to tell me for months. James landed at Nashville International at 10 the next morning. He looked like Catherine. Same steady eyes, same quiet determination. He pulled me into a hug that nearly broke me. "Tell me everything," he said over coffee at Frank's kitchen table. I told him. The locks, Derek's threats, the will, Rachel's guilt, how she'd changed over 7 years. Catherine's warnings I'd ignored. James listened without interrupting. When I finished, he pulled out his phone and showed me a text from Catherine dated January 15th. "James, honey, I've put some important documents in a safety deposit box at First Tennessee on West End, box 714. I'm giving you the spare key. Don't tell your father yet. Don't tell Rachel. If something happens to me, make sure Thomas gets everything inside. Promise me." James's response. "Mom, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" "Catherine. Just being careful, sweetheart. I love you. Take care of your dad and your sister." "She knew," James whispered. 2 months before she died, she knew something was coming. We drove to the bank that afternoon. The branch manager verified Catherine's box and James's authorization. Box 714. The key fit perfectly. Inside were 3 things: a large manila envelope marked legal, a smaller envelope marked for Thomas, and a portable hard drive with a sticky note in Catherine's handwriting that read, "The password is where we first danced. 1984. I opened the legal envelope first. The top document was a deed of trust, recorded the 20th of September, 1992. Owner, Catherine Aldridge. Her maiden name. She'd bought our house in her name alone. I'd never known. Beneath it was another will, dated January 22nd of this year, 7 weeks before Catherine died, notarized, official, and completely different from the one Derek had shown me. This will left everything to me. The house, the savings, Catherine's car. Rachel and James were provided for through a trust, but the primary beneficiary was me, Thomas James Harrison. There was more. An irrevocable trust agreement, established January 22nd. Trustee, Margaret Chen, attorney at law, Nashville. The house was placed in trust for my use for the remainder of my life. Rachel and James would inherit after I passed, but no one could force a sale or remove me. "James," I said, my voice barely working, "if this trust is real, then Derek's will is either forged or invalid. Who's Margaret Chen?" James was already searching. Estate planning attorney. Office on Church Street downtown. He looked up. "Dad, Mom planned all of this. She set a trap." I opened the smaller envelope. Catherine's handwriting, shakier than I'd ever seen it. "My dearest Thomas, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I pray you found this before they took everything. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. There wasn't time, and I was afraid you'd confront Derek directly. That would have made things worse. Derek Pruitt is in serious trouble. His assisted living chain is hemorrhaging money. State inspections found violations at 3 facilities. He's facing lawsuits, fines, and possible criminal charges for neglect. He needs cash desperately. Our house is worth nearly $700,000. He wants it. Rachel is trapped. I've tried to reach her, but Derek and Vivian have isolated her completely. She's terrified. Whatever she does after I'm gone, remember that she's being controlled. She's still our daughter. I've made arrangements. The house is protected in an irrevocable trust through Margaret Chen. She's a good woman. I've known her 15 years through the library board. She knows everything. Call her. She'll help you fight. And Thomas, the hard drive. That's the most important thing. I set up a security camera system in the house. 4 cameras. Living room, kitchen, hallway, my office, hidden in picture frames and bookshelves. They've been recording since January and backing up automatically to a cloud account every night. 6 months of storage paid in advance. The hard drive has copies of everything through February. The cloud account has the rest. The login is on the sticky note with the hard drive. Watch the recordings. All of them. Then do what needs to be done. Protect our children, my love. Especially Rachel. She needs you, even if she doesn't know it yet. Forever yours, Catherine. I couldn't breathe. James put his arm around me. She knew, I whispered. She knew what Derek was planning, and she recorded everything. Margaret Chen met us that same afternoon. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. Her office smelled like old books and strong coffee. "I've been expecting your call," she said. "Catherine told me someone would try to challenge the trust." I hoped she was wrong. She confirmed everything. The irrevocable trust was airtight. Derek's will was either a forgery or signed under duress. Our house legally belonged to the trust, with me as beneficiary. So I can go home? Not yet. We file paperwork, get a court order. A few days. But yes, Thomas, that house is yours. Catherine made absolutely certain of it. That night, James and I sat in Frank's living room with his laptop and the hard drive. The password worked. Catherine Thomas 1984. The year of our first dance at a friend's wedding. Before we even started dating. The hard drive contained 31 video files, each one labeled with a date and camera location. The earliest was January 15th. The most recent on the drive was February 28th. But the cloud account, which we accessed using login credentials Catherine had taped to the hard drive, contained even more. Recordings all the way through March 8th, the day Catherine died. 53 files total. James clicked the first one. January 15th. Living room, 11:20 a.m. The angle was high. Catherine had hidden the camera on the bookshelf near the ceiling. The quality was sharp. I could see our living room clearly, and Derek Pruitt standing in the middle of it, alone, on his phone. "Yeah, I'm at the house. The old man's at work. Place is worth $650, maybe $700 in this market. Don't worry about Catherine. She's getting worse. Doctor says the stroke risk is through the roof. Could be weeks, could be months, but she's not going to be around much longer. Once she's gone, we move fast. Get Rachel to sign everything over. The old man won't fight it. He'll be too broken." My blood went cold. This house saves us, Vivian. 3 facilities facing state fines, 2 lawsuits from families. We need $400,000 minimum or we lose everything. This property is our lifeline. He hung up, walked around our living room touching things, picked up our wedding photo, studied it, set it back down. Then he left. James and I stared at the screen. "He planned it," James said. "Even before Mom died. He was counting down the days. She knew." I thought about Catherine climbing a stepladder to hide cameras while her brain was a ticking time bomb. Doing it alone. Doing it in secret. Because she knew I'd confront Derek and make everything worse. We watched more. Video after video. Derek visiting the house when I was at work. Vivian going through Catherine's desk drawers looking for financial documents. Derek coaching Rachel on what to say to me, how to act normal, how to avoid my questions. Trevor pressuring Rachel about the debt, about the lawsuits, about how they'd all go to prison if she didn't help. Then James clicked a file that made both of us stop breathing. March 7th. Living room, 10:47 p.m. The night before Catherine died, 3 people sat in our living room. Derek, Vivian, and a man I'd never seen. Short, thin, wearing wire-rimmed glasses. "Is the dosage right?" Derek asked. The man nodded. "With her medical history, this amount of potassium chloride administered intravenously will trigger cardiac arrest within hours, indistinguishable from a natural stroke complication. Her medical records already show she's at extreme risk. No one will question it." Vivian's voice came next, tight and nervous. "You're certain this can't be traced? It metabolizes naturally." The man adjusted his glasses. "Even if someone ordered a full toxicology panel, which they won't for a 61-year-old stroke patient, the levels would appear consistent with normal cardiac function. The compound breaks down completely within 12 hours. Derek leaned back on our couch. "By tomorrow night, this is all over. Rachel's already prepped. She'll sign everything within the month. We sell, clear the debt, and nobody ever knows." "How much is your fee?" Vivian asked. $50,000. Derek didn't hesitate. Done. You'll get it once the property sells. The man stood and left through our back door. Derek and Vivian sat in silence. Then Vivian said quietly, "Are we really doing this? We don't have a choice." Derek's voice was flat. 3 facilities facing shutdown. Lawsuits piling up. If those families win in court, we're looking at criminal negligence charges. I am not going to prison because some nursing home patients didn't get their medications on time. He stood up and straightened his jacket. Catherine Harrison is going to have a fatal stroke complication tomorrow, and then we fix everything. The video ended. James and I sat in silence so heavy it felt physical. My hands shook so hard I had to press them flat against the table. "They killed her," James said. His voice was hollow. "They hired someone to murder Mom." I felt tears streaming down my face. And Catherine knew. She knew what was coming, and she left the cameras running to catch it. We called Margaret Chen at midnight. Then we called the police. Detective Anita Reyes from the Nashville PD Major Crimes Unit arrived at Frank's house at 2 in the morning with a forensic technician. She watched the March 7th video 3 times. Then she looked at me and said, "Mr. Harrison, we're going to need everything. Every video. Every document. And we're going to need your wife's medical records and tissue samples. Can you get them?" Catherine was buried, not cremated. I'd insisted on a traditional burial at Green Hills Cemetery because I wanted a place to visit her. Detective Reyes nodded. "We'll petition for an exhumation order and rush toxicology. If potassium chloride was administered in the dosage discussed on that video, there may still be injection site evidence and elevated levels in tissue samples." Within 48 hours, we had a court order. Catherine's body was exhumed. The forensic pathologist found a needle mark on her left arm, hidden in the fold of her elbow, exactly where a blood draw would normally go. Toxicology confirmed potassium chloride levels far exceeding anything natural. My wife had been murdered. And she'd known it was coming. Margaret Chen filed emergency motions. Within a week, I had a court order restoring my access to the house and voiding Derek's fraudulent will. Detective Reyes secured arrest warrants for Derek, Vivian, and the unidentified man from the video, who turned out to be a disgraced pharmacist named Leonard Hale. But we didn't move yet. Margaret had a plan. "Derek doesn't know about the cameras," she said during one of our strategy meetings. "He doesn't know about the trust. He thinks he's won. And Vivian is planning some kind of event. A gathering at your house. A celebration of the renovation." I felt cold. A party. In my house. To celebrate stealing it from me. Margaret's eyes were sharp. "We let them have their party. We show up with the evidence. With the police. With witnesses. We take everything back at once." James looked at me. "It's what Mom would have done." He was right. Catherine had always been 3 steps ahead. Even now, the invitation came 10 days later, a cream-colored card delivered to Frank's mailbox. "Derek and Vivian Pruitt cordially invite you to celebrate the beautifully renovated Harrison family home. Saturday, April 13th, 6 p.m., 1847, Belmont Park Drive, Nashville. My address. My house." I called Margaret. "We got it. April 13th. That gives us 5 days. Detective Reyes confirmed her team will be ready. Plain clothes, officers inside, uniforms waiting outside. We've arranged for audio-visual equipment. A friend of mine will arrive early as a caterer and set up a screen. What do I do? You walk into that house, Thomas, with your son, your lawyer, and 53 videos. And you take back everything they stole." The night of April 13th, I wore the suit Catherine had bought me for our 30th anniversary. James wore slacks and a blazer. We looked like men attending a dinner party. We were soldiers going to war. The house looked wrong when we arrived. New paint, new landscaping. Catherine's azaleas ripped out and replaced with modern shrubs. Through the windows, I could see 30-some guests holding wine glasses in my living room, standing where Catherine and I had built our life. Margaret met us at the door. "Equipment's ready. Reyes has 4 officers inside and 6 outside. Are you sure about this?" I've never been more sure of anything. We walked in. Derek spotted me immediately. His face flickered with surprise before he recovered. Thomas. He crossed the room with his hand extended. Glad you could make it. I didn't shake his hand. And you brought company. His eyes moved to Margaret. How formal for a housewarming. Derek raised his voice. Everyone, can I have your attention? I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate this beautiful home. It belonged to my late mother-in-law, Catherine, a wonderful woman. And now it belongs to Rachel and our family. I saw Rachel in the corner. Thin, pale, terrified. Our eyes met. She looked away fast. To new beginnings, Derek said, raising his glass. Actually, I said, stepping forward. Let's talk about old beginnings. Like 1992. The year this house was purchased. The room went quiet. Derek's smile didn't move, but his eyes went dead. I pulled the deed from my jacket. This house was purchased by Catherine Aldridge. Her maiden name, sole owner. September 20th, 1992. She never transferred it. Murmurs from the crowd. Derek's face flushed. So what? Catherine left it to Rachel in her will. Margaret stepped forward. Catherine left everything to Thomas in her legal will, dated January 22nd of this year. She also established an irrevocable trust, naming me as trustee, specifically to protect this property. Your will, Mr. Pruitt, is either forged or obtained through coercion. The room was silent. Vivian grabbed Derek's arm. This is absurd, she hissed. Do something. Derek recovered fast. That trust is a fabrication. Catherine was mentally compromised. She had a stroke condition. She didn't have the capacity to. I met with Catherine 6 times between January and February, Margaret said calmly. She was completely lucid. I have detailed notes from every session. She knew exactly what she was doing. I looked at Derek. But that's not why we're here tonight. My voice carried across the room. We're here because of what my wife recorded before she died. James moved to the screen that had been set up in the corner. He connected his laptop. Derek tried to stop him, but Detective Reyes stepped between them, badge visible. I'd suggest you stay right where you are, Mr. Pruitt, Reyes said. James hit play. January 15th. Living room. Derek Pruitt on his phone in my house. His voice filled the room through the speakers. Don't worry about Catherine. She's getting worse. Could be weeks. Once she's gone, we move fast. This house saves us, Vivian. Gasps from the guests. Derek went white. Turn that off. Those are illegally. Cameras installed by the homeowner in her own residence, Margaret said. Perfectly legal. James played another video. Derek and Vivian going through Catherine's desk. Another. Derek coaching Rachel on what to say, threatening her with financial ruin if she didn't cooperate. Another. Rachel crying on our couch while Derek told her she'd face fraud charges if she spoke up. The room was in shock. Guests backing away from Derek. Phones coming out. Rachel stood frozen in the corner, tears streaming down her face. Then James said, "There's one more. March 7th, the night before my mother died." The room went absolutely silent as the video played. Derek, Vivian, and Leonard Hale discussing potassium chloride, dosage, injection, how it would look like natural cardiac arrest. Derek saying, Catherine Harrison is going to have a fatal stroke complication tomorrow. Someone screamed. Several guests started shouting. Vivian collapsed into a chair. Derek tried to bolt for the back door. 2 plainclothes officers caught him before he made it 3 steps. Derek Pruitt, Detective Reyes announced. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, fraud, and extortion. Those videos are fake, Derek shouted as they cuffed him. This is entrapment. 53 authenticated recordings, James said coldly. 6 months of footage. Forensic analysis confirmed. And they exhumed Mom's body. Found the injection site. Found the potassium chloride. Derek stopped struggling. Vivian was sobbing, and Rachel finally moved. She stumbled across the room and collapsed into my arms. Dad, she sobbed. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know about Mom. I swear I didn't know they killed her. I thought she just died. I know, sweetheart. I held her. I know you didn't know. You're safe now. James wrapped his arms around both of us. My children. Catherine's children. Together again. Detective Reyes approached. Mr. Harrison, given the video evidence of coercion, we're prepared to offer Rachel full immunity in exchange for testimony. Rachel looked at me through her tears. I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. Whatever it takes. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Kenneth, I'm sorry. Derek Pruitt was found guilty on all counts. Conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, fraud, extortion. Sentenced to 40 years. No parole for 30. Vivian received 12 years as an accessory. Leonard Hale got 25. Rachel moved home the day after the verdict. She stood in her old bedroom, the one Catherine had kept exactly the same, and cried for a long time. Then she started healing. It took months. Therapy. Long walks in Catherine's garden, slowly rediscovering who she was before Derek. James flew down every other weekend. We'd cook Catherine's recipes together, the 3 of us, filling the kitchen with smells that made the house feel whole again. One evening, a year after the trial, Rachel came downstairs holding a purple journal Catherine had given her for college graduation. She'd written on the first page, "For my brilliant daughter, may you always know your own worth. Mom tried to save me," Rachel said quietly. At that last visit, she knew I was trapped. She asked me if I was happy and I was too scared to answer honestly. She understood, I said. She left a video message. She said you were still her daughter, that you were just lost. Rachel wiped her eyes. I'm not lost anymore, Dad. I found my way home. The Catherine Harrison Foundation for Elder Abuse Survivors opened its doors on the first anniversary of the verdict. Rachel ran it. James directed educational programs. Margaret Chen provided free legal counsel. Detective Reyes sat on the advisory board. I stood in front of the building looking up at the sign, Catherine's name in bronze letters. Below it, the words she'd written in her final letter, "Protect our children. Protect each other. The truth will always find its way to the surface." On Sunday mornings, I visit Catherine's grave. I bring sunflowers, her favorite. I tell her about the foundation, about Rachel's recovery, about James's latest visit, about the families we've helped. One Sunday, Rachel and James came with me. We stood together at Catherine's headstone. The inscription read, "Beloved wife, mother, protector. She loved fearlessly and fought silently." Rachel placed her hand on the stone. "Thank you, Mom, for everything." James put his arm around his sister. The cameras weren't just about catching Derek. They were about showing us the truth, about how love protects even from beyond. I touched the warm granite and smiled through my tears. You're still watching over us, aren't you? The wind picked up. Sunflowers swayed in the morning light. Somewhere a bird sang. We stayed until the sun was high. 3 people bound together by love and loss, and the extraordinary woman who refused to let evil win. Even in death, Catherine was still protecting us, still recording, still saving lives. I'm sharing our story because I want you to recognize the warning signs that Catherine saw but I missed. When family members suddenly take control of finances, when your loved ones become isolated, when legal documents appear out of nowhere, when someone you raised stops looking you in the eye. If you see these signs, act. Call the National Elder Abuse Hotline at 1-800-677-1116. Talk to an attorney. Document everything. And if you're the one being controlled, know this. You are not alone. You are not a burden. Your home, your savings, your life belongs to you. Catherine spent her final weeks installing cameras and gathering evidence while knowing she might not survive. She did it because she refused to let her family become victims. She refused to let evil win. And she left us a mission to make sure no one else has to fight alone. I appreciate you staying with me through this journey. Drop a 2 in the comments if this story touched your heart. A gentle reminder, this narrative contains fictional elements crafted for awareness and education. If the themes don't align with what you're looking for, feel free to explore other content. But if this moved you, please share it. You might save someone's life.